Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Life as Kel. It's all about me, Kel, and my life. And for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I changed my relationship with food. During the quarantine and being locked in the house, I was surrounded by food 24/7, had access to it all the time, and that relationship turned toxic real quick. So stay tuned to hear some tips on how I fixed that relationship and lost weight in the process. So a few weeks ago, I was feeling really sluggish, I was super anxious, and it all seemed to be surrounded around food for some reason. I was overeating, I was emotionally eating, I felt terribly every time I would consume something, and it was a cyclical thing of feeling badly about myself and then eating food that made me feel badly, and the whole thing just started over again. And Joshua noticed that I was feeling down and that it had something to do with food, so he suggested that he would take care of my meals for 1 week. And this was the thing that started the change that would have a lasting impact on my relationship with food. So my first tip is to plan out your meals. Every night before we would go to bed, Joshua and I would sit down and plan out my meals for the following day. Now, I'm a bit of a grazer. I'm not a 3 square meals a day type of person. I like to constantly be snacking and munching as the day goes on. So instead of doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we planned out 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then 4 snacks, and then a dessert. And the deal was, every time I would get hungry, Joshua would prepare the meal for me or he'd bring me the snack, but the rules were I had to stay out of the kitchen for 1 week. And I was surprised by how this changed the way I was thinking about food. When I used to go into the kitchen myself and I was feeling down, I would just be grabbing the same old snacks because it was easy. It was easy to just go for the same bag of pretzels that I had been eating throughout the entire week. But when Joshua and I planned out my meals, I found that I was able to add a lot of variety and I was able to put the forethought into switching up my meals as opposed to just last minute grabbing the same old thing. And I was still able to eat all of my favorite things while trying new foods, which for me, I'm a very picky eater. So like stepping outside of my comfort zone, even in the context of our own kitchen, like there are foods here that we bought at the grocery store that I just didn't get to trying or didn't feel like trying because I just wasn't feeling up to it. But now this was the opportunity for me to really expand my palate. I mean, sure, it's easy when someone is hand delivering your meals and catering to you all week, but it truly changed the way that I thought about food because all the anxiety went away. All of the guesswork was taken out of it. And by planning my meals out the day before, I knew that when I got hungry the next day, it was already planned out for me. I didn't have to think about it once. Really took away the anxiety that I was experiencing. That was a big part of it. The second tip I have for you is in regards to counting calories. Now, I've heard it said 1,000 times, weight loss comes down to calories in versus calories out, meaning that if you want to lose weight, you need to be consuming less than you're burning. And the easiest way to figure out how many calories you're intaking is by using a calorie counting or food intake app. Now, health professionals will tell you that these apps aren't reliable, they aren't that accurate, but the main reason I used an app like MyFitnessPal was to help me be more mindful of my eating habits, and it was perfect in helping me achieve that goal. Would I use it if I was really, really serious about losing a significant amount of weight? Probably not. I would probably go to a health professional or a personal trainer or a nutrition coach and figure that out. But MyFitnessPal is really accessible for people who are just trying to get a feel for what this whole health and wellness thing looks like. So I use MyFitnessPal and I found it to be helpful for encouraging me to be more mindful of my food intake and to make smarter food choices. That was the goal. So I've weighed about 145 for most of my life. I was at I would say that was a healthy weight for me. I wasn't overweight, I wasn't underweight. It was a good middle ground. Then my early 20s hit, and I don't know what happened, but I gained about 15 to 20 pounds, and I've kept that weight on for a few years now. I've never looked at myself and said, oh my God, Kel, you need to lose so much weight. No, but I would definitely feel more comfortable in my own body if I was able to drop at least 10 pounds. Like hovering back around that 145, 150 range would be ideal for me. I found that my weight gain was mostly due to my eating habits. Back when I was in college, even if I wasn't eating that often, I was consuming so many calories it was unreal because most of the time I would get fast food or takeout because I don't cook. So a lot of the food that was around my house was processed, and if I didn't feel like eating Doritos for dinner, I would go to Buffalo Wild Wings, where one meal would consist of over 1,000 calories, and before I know it, that's like my allowance for the day. So I was eating over 2,000 calories a day, so it is no surprise that the weight just started packing on, because that's how I ate consistently for over a year. I had a habit of overeating and binging when I felt emotional too, so that was just another layer, and my overall relationship with food was so poor that I truly never thought that I could change it. I always felt bloated, I always had low energy, I would crash in the middle of the day, and there were a lot of factors, but they were all surrounded around my health and my nutrition. So bottom line is, we decided to count my calories using MyFitnessPal, and it was super, super easy, super user-friendly. All you have to do is scan the barcode of the item that you're eating or look it up in their huge library of meals. You can create recipes, so you can, if you have, the same dish 2 days in a row, you can just put that in twice. It's also nice because we were planning out my meals the night before, so we were able to insert that for the next day and to see what my calorie total would be and kind of adjust if we needed to. But my limit, or my calorie allowance, was about 1,380 calories a day. But that calorie allowance worked for me, especially because I wasn't working out. And just another thing about that, I hate working out. I wanted to focus on my calories so much because that was the only way I was going to be able to lose weight without ever lifting a weight. You can't, I would rather die than have to run, than have to lift a finger I tried CrossFit for like 2 weeks. Never again. I just am uncomfortable when I'm working out. It's not a way that I want to spend my time. So I would rather be more conscious of what I'm eating and how I'm eating than to worry about going to the gym. And let me tell you, the results followed. At the end of the day, I was usually still in a calorie deficit, which means that I was guaranteed to lose weight. And by the end of 2 weeks of planning out my meals and counting my calories, I lost about 4.5, 5 pounds. So, people are thinking 5 pounds, that's nothing. In a span of 2 weeks, that is a lot of weight to lose. And if I sustained that level of weight loss, I would lose 10 pounds in a month. If I wanted to lose the 20 pounds that I had gained, that's 2 months and I'm back to my goal weight. It's totally, totally doable. Tip number 3 is about portioning out your meals. So counting my calories helped me determine the portion sizes I was supposed to have. So say I had 600 calories left for dinner. Typically, I would take about 500 calories worth of rice and about 100 calories worth of chicken. But, trying to be more conscious of what my plate looks like and the variety of different food groups on my plate, maybe I'll add some veggies. Now, I remember back in elementary school, we saw this big triangle thing. There was the food pyramid. That's what it was. The food pyramid that would tell you your starches and your fats and your this and that. And I must have just kind of completely blocked that out of my brain because I don't remember a goddamn thing that I learned back then. But apparently you're supposed to pay attention to these percentages when considering the portion sizes. So if you're making a plate and want a wholesome meal, this is usually a good rule of thumb. So I was being more conscious of what I was putting on my plate. And speaking of plates, I actually started to use plates and cutlery to portion out my meals. So typically if I was grabbing a snack, I would just take the whole bag with me and just start eating right out of the bag. But the way your brain works is if I'm hungry, right? And I take the bag of Snaps pretzels and I'm eating them and my hands just going in and converting to my mouth and I'm just doing that a whole bunch, my brain is not going to tell me to stop, right? I'm not going to pay attention to my hunger cues in that moment. But when you have a plate and there's no more food on your plate, your brain's like, oh, we finished our plate. We must be full. So it's these kind of mind games you have to play with yourself in order to not be so compulsive when you eat. So definitely ditching the eating out of the box, eating out of the bag mentality helped me to not overeat. I was also able to pace myself. When I would grab that big bag of Snaps pretzels, I would just shovel my way through the entire thing in 10 minutes. When I have a finite amount of food on my plate, I'm able to say, okay, instead of taking 10 minutes to gobble down my entire plate of dinner, I'm going to take maybe a half an hour and like savor each bite. That is like one thing that I was never taught my whole life, is how you're supposed to like savor the food that you eat. I guess grew up with the mentality that you had food on your plate and you had to finish it as fast as you could so you could go out and do whatever else you had to do. You know, over the course of the week that Joshua has curated my meals and we did this plan, I've learned how to enjoy each meal. Even like the little snacks that I have, like a grapefruit, I'm able to kind of pace myself and really taste each bite of the grapefruit and enjoy that meal, as opposed to just like shoveling it in my mouth and being like, okay, snack 4 is done. What's next? My fourth tip is all about moderation, and this was something I needed to be schooled in big time. The biggest example I have of that is with a bag of Skittles. So you know those family-sized Skittle bags at Walgreens? You can literally get them anywhere, at the drugstore. I would take that, sit down, watch a movie, and eat the entire bag of Skittles. Have you ever looked at the calories and the serving size on a bag of Skittles? I think it's something like 28 grams of Skittles is one serving, and that's 260 calories. I would go through the entire bag, which had over 1,000 calories worth of Skittles, and that was just like a movie snack. Man, I was consuming, it was just anarchy here. I have no idea what I was doing, and being more mindful and conscious of what I was eating completely changed my outlook on my relationship with food. And I was able to enjoy the Skittles so much more when I was able to take that serving of 28 grams, portion it out, leave the big bag behind, and just enjoy my 40-something Skittles that I had in this bag, as opposed to consuming the entire thing in record time. I also found that my addiction to sugar has been cut down significantly by not consuming as much. I mean, like, duh, right? That makes total sense. But I was able to eat less and not be hungry. And I found that, by the time dessert rolled around, I would find so much joy in having accomplished what I did throughout the day, eating my meals, meeting my calories for the day, that I would really, really look forward to the Skittles or the 2 Crunch bars. That's the other thing, like fun-sized Crunch bars. I would eat like 8 of them in a sitting, when a proper serving is like 2. And I would find so much pleasure in just having those 2 Crunch bars at the end of the day, that after a week of doing that, I found that I didn't even want dessert when that time came around. So I have changed my relationship with food, but also with sugar, which was a big, big thing for me, because sugar is bad for you, it gives you calories, and it's the enemy. The whole moderation thing really helped me pay attention to my hunger cues, because if I portioned out that bag of Skittles and by the time I got through half of it, if I wasn't really feeling that snack anymore, or if my sweet tooth was satisfied, I could just put the rest back. I didn't feel so compelled to finish the entire thing. I felt like I was finally in control of what I was putting in my body and the way that I felt about it. And that was just life-changing for me. The last tip I have, and this is probably one of the bigger ones, is to drink water. Of course, Kel, drink water. You need water to survive. Well, I personally hate water. If I never had to drink a sip of water in my whole life, I'd probably die, but I would be super happy about not having to taste it. I don't like it. There's no taste. It does nothing for me, except for allow my body to function the way it's supposed to. So Joshua and I made a deal that with every single snack or meal that I had, I would have to drink a glass of water with it. It was like pulling teeth. I would find myself like going like this to finish a glass of water. Like, I couldn't do it. But after a few days, I was like, I saw it as a mission. I was like, okay, I know I can't get to my next meal or my next snack until I finish this glass of water. And by the end of the week, it became kind of second nature. I was like, okay, we can do this. My relationship with water has changed only slightly. I don't hate it as much. I understand the importance of water in my diet. I was able to do little things like put some slices of lemon or some lemon juice in it, but I really had to make a conscious decision to drink water. And it's still something that I'm struggling with now, but it's a really vital part of health and wellness, especially if you're trying to change your relationship with food. Water will be your best friend. These tips for me were groundbreaking. It has completely changed my relationship with food. I don't have the anxiety or the overwhelming feeling anymore when I step into the kitchen. I feel in control of what I'm putting in my body, what I'm eating, how I'm eating, and I feel good about the choices I'm making. I highly recommend, if you have food anxiety, if you've been struggling with, being locked up in quarantine and being surrounded by food all the time, if that relationship has turned toxic for you, give these tips a try. Try curating your meals for 1 week, try tracking your calories, try, eating in moderation, and try drinking a little bit more water, and see how quickly your mindset and your physical being will turn around for the better. As usual, thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at TheRealCalGrant. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.